Hello, hello. Welcome to What's Working Now. I'm your host, Katie Richardson. Super excited to share an incredible guest with you today. This is somebody that I have never met in person. We met socially. We were both attending the same workshop, and she and I connected. We were talking back and forth. And when I saw her story, I said, we need to dive into this. We need to discover more, break it down, understand the elements, and then share it with you all today. I'm talking about the awesome and the incredible Arabella. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, love. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here. We're really excited to hear your story, to share it with this audience so that they can learn the principles that you are living and applying in your life and begin to make some changes in their life today. So share with everybody. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Share with everybody. Okay. Anybody who's ever scrolled Instagram, you see before and after photos. Well, this before and after photo, like share with them visually what you have done in your life and how you have made this radical transformation.
Yes, it's so exciting. And it's so easy to see before and after pictures online.
Right.
And we look at just the physical things and how much has changed. And there are huge changes and shifts. But when we actually think about the inner stuff that changes, like that's the exciting stuff. And I feel like that's what most people are craving as well.
And that's what I could see in your photos, by the way. That's what I'm referring to. Like you can see that internal change that happened to you on the outside.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I was diagnosed with an incurable illness. I know you guys are listening, but I say that in quotation marks, when I was 20 years old. And, before that, I was really living the normal life, with regards to my health, how you maybe go on a little diet for a week, and then you maybe work out a little bit more for a week. And eventually I got to the point where my health just hit rock bottom. And I had no other choice but to figure it out because the doctors told me there was no cure. Now, what happened was I was diagnosed with something called Polycystic Ovarian syndrome, which, if you don't know, is all to do with your hormones. But in the business that I've created, the Arabella Solution, the philosophy is less about the specific disease that you have or have been named to have. And it's more about looking at the imbalances of the body. Now, if you look at your individual imbalances and get to the root of why they are there in the first place, then you solve those imbalances, the body works in harmony, and then there is no more disease, right? So that's really the kind of philosophy. But when I was diagnosed, I was 20 years old. I was living in Australia by myself, and I was maybe 4 dress sizes bigger. I had severe acne. I had black hair growing on my face, my butt, my back, extremely bloated every day, just struggling to get up the stairs, living off coffee. Mental health was through the floor. And I remember thinking, there must be more to life than this, right? Like, surely life gets to be more enjoyable than this. So I now am in a completely different place. And through that journey, I created the Arabella Solution, which is my business, which is not just about physical health, but also mental, spiritual, emotional, and how they all link together.
Okay. So I didn't realize you were so young when you discovered all of this. I mean, 20 years old and being told you have this incurable disease and having all of these symptoms and side effects that make life so miserable. I mean, did you know that you were so sick?
Yes, yeah, I knew it, and I went to the doctors, and they kept telling me I was normal, and the tests and stuff, things were normal. And eventually I got the day I would say my life really changed was I went to the doctors. And especially as a woman, and I don't want to leave anyone else out here, but we have a lot generally of hormonal issues, and when something's off with your body, no matter what gender you are. And you go to the doctors and you say hey, I think something's wrong with me, and they do some tests and it comes back in normal ranges, and then they just send you away.
Yes.
And but I know something is off. I know I don't feel good, and the Western medicine system looks at the body as kind of a mechanical machine, right? So if this is missing, then we just replace that part, and then everything works in harmony. And they don't have answers for a lot of things. And I remember thinking there must be answers out there. right? Like there must be. And I didn't get into this because I believed in holistic health or believed you could heal your body. I just had no other option. There was no other choice to me. Because I was so young, especially, I was so lucky to be that young, because I was like, I am not living the rest of my life like this. Like maybe if I was 70 or 80, I might just accept my fate. But I was like, hell no. I was told I was infertile. I had 30 cysts on both my ovaries. And the root of it was, I thought, no one's ever going to love me if I can't, have babies, or I look like this. How is someone going to love me? And that was really like the deep root of it, like just not feeling good enough, which is, I know, something that so many people struggle with, no matter how that physically manifests in your life or your body, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to imagine at 20 years old being told all of these things and having the audacity to say no to all of that to the doctors and say, I'm going to go figure this out. How did you begin to, I mean, where did you even start as you were searching and looking for answers and solutions where these quote experts were telling you either you're fine or there is no solution? Where
Yeah.
did you even begin to search?
It was honestly kind of an accident. I was just doing that thing where you Google all your symptoms, and like you Google PCOS and you kind of anything that you have in your body, and it will come up with, like cancer, dying, all of these conditions and issues. And I went to go and see an acupuncturist who specialized in PCOS. Now, when we have something that goes wrong with our body, what we want is answers. Like, of course, we want to feel better. But what we also want is like, why is this happening to me? Because once you can understand why it's happening, you can then create the solution, and you can feel empowered in those decisions you're making. So if I'm drinking this thing or I'm taking this supplement and it directly correlates to this thing in my body, it's empowering. Because suddenly you can have a medicine cabinet full of natural therapies and supplements and all these things and know exactly what you need for yourself in different moments. But to bring it back to your question, I went to go and see an acupuncturist, and I wanted her to just tell me what PCOS was. And she just put the needles in me, left the room, and I lied there on this board, crying my eyes out, just with these needles in me, just like, what is happening? Like, why? What is the reason for this? And at the time, I was not spiritual. I had no purpose in life. I had never even read a book really on anything to do with self-development or life. I was a very different version of myself. And that really was the start of it. And I accidentally went to go and see a practitioner a few days later, and she just happened to be a holistic practitioner. And she was the first person to tell me, there is a reason your body's doing this. We're going to heal it. We're going to figure it out, and you'll be better. And I cried my eyes out. I was like, what? Like, I can get better? Like, there's a cure? And she was like, sure thing. And she actually said to me, your body is always doing its best for you at all times. And it just really hit, because when you're in this body that's not working the way you want it to, you can start to really hate it.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to love a body that's doing the opposite thing that you want it to do. And so this was a really, really powerful moment for me, and I really cried. And she was actually a colonic hydrotherapist. And I remember thinking, she was a really beautiful young girl. And I remember thinking, why are you pumping poo, out of people's butts? Like, what is this career choice? Like, I totally respect it. And I love that for you. But like, how did you get here? And at the end of our third session, and she'd spoken to me, she was like, you see why I do this? And I was like, hell yeah, you've changed my life. Thank you so much. And yeah, that was the start of it all. As soon as someone told me, yes, you can do it, I just was like, I am not stopping until I do. And if I figure out how to do it, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure that no one ever has to feel like I do right now, lost and confused, and that there is a way to heal your body.
So good. I mean, this is such an important lesson to anybody if you apply it to not just health. Absolutely, this applies to health, but I can see how this kind of principle of realizing something needs to change and being willing to go search and look and seek maybe even unconventional things. And as entrepreneurs, we're problem solving all the time, and we're running up against things that look and feel impossible constantly. And you're an entrepreneur as well. And so to like take those lessons that you have learned in your health, how are you now taking that and applying it to your business?
Love. Okay, I have the best answer for this. So when it comes to business, as an entrepreneur, you will know that other people's limiting beliefs can cripple you more than your own, right? Like when your idea is a little baby and someone swoops in and tells you you cannot do it, or it doesn't even have to be as strong as you can't do it. It can be just like these like kind of niggly feelings or, comments about the challenges or how that's not possible. And people can put their limiting beliefs on you. And it's not necessarily on purpose. It's not like you've done that, you're mean and evil. It's like if people can just put their limiting beliefs on you, even by accident.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when you go into the doctor's office and someone tells you you have an incurable illness is that moment that all entrepreneurs will relate to of like, oh my God, I can't do it. This professional or expert or person that's important to me has told me I can't, and therefore I can't. And that sinking feeling in your stomach you get when someone tells you you can't do something. Having someone believe in you is the most amazing thing ever for your business, for your health, for your life, for your relationships. And also that person can be you, right? But it does help to get a coach or have someone who believes in you. And even if it's a podcast, right? Even if it's you right now listening to this and being like, wow, you know what? I can do it, right? Because I'm telling you, you can. If someone else has done it, it's possible for you too.
Yeah. So good. As I hear you share your story and your experience, I can hear a tremendous optimist and fighter inside of you. Is there maybe an experience that you had early on in life that you feel really formed and shaped this strong spirit that you have and helped you kind of navigate so much unknown?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have a little story, don't we, from before that made us the way we are, and we are really products of our past. And it doesn't mean that it has to be negative. I think people speak about their past and trauma as this really awful thing. And whilst absolutely, yes, it can be, and it is, it can also be amazing that these things shape us into who we are. And when I was 4 years old, my dad took his own life. And he had depression. And I was obviously very, very young. And suddenly this person was evaporated from my life, just gone. And obviously you're too young to speak about it. So it's just this thing. And so I went into, I guess, a very independent state and mode of being. And I think really it stemmed from there, like there was just a fire inside me from a very young age. And when I was in school, I really struggled with bullying. I used to sit in toilet cubicles by myself at lunch times. And it was truly just some experiences that really made me feel isolated and alone and took me to the lowest of the low places. And they're really blessings, because when you hit rock bottom, the only way is up. And a lot of people are operating from this, like if true alignment, is kind of like this place of kind of being up, like if you put your hands in prayer position, right? And that's true alignment. Now, a lot of people will hit rock bottom, which is kind of like a 90-degree angle down, right? So you're like flat on the floor with your hands, right? Now, a lot of people are operating from that middle space, from average. If you don't hit rock bottom, sometimes you can just stay at average because you're just in that normal space. So that's why, rock bottom and these can be your most amazing things that can happen to you in life and really make you who you are, because you look around and you just have two options, give up or continue. And I think that because of what happened to my dad, it was just like, well, giving up is not an option. And it was not because I felt like what he did was wrong. It wasn't even a selfish reason. It was just I couldn't do it to my mom. So it was like, well, there is no other option here but up. I'm not going to live a miserable life. I'm not going to let these limiting beliefs from society tell me that I can't do these things. And I'm going to make the impossible possible somehow.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm,
Yeah.
my pleasure.
Yeah. As I continue to listen to your story and your experience, it's one thing to go find solutions and answers and to begin to create healing within yourself. It's a whole nother to then say, how can I take this and now start helping other people? What did that transition start to look like for you? Were you always an entrepreneur? Did you always know that you wanted to build your own business? Or was it like
Oh, hell no.
being attacked by people who are like, please show me what you're doing because I need some of this?
No, it was really just I remember I was in Cambodia. I had some money from when my dad passed away, just a little bit, but enough to go traveling in, Southeast Asia for a year or so, and live in hostels and do that bit. And I was in Cambodia, and this guy approached me on the street. I was crying about a guy at the time, and this guy approached me on the street and was like, if I tell you the name of the person you're crying about, will you let me read your fortune? And again, I stress I was not spiritual, did not believe in God. I thought it was all woo woo. Like, I'm such a different version of me now. But at the time, I really was atheist. And he told me that I he told me that I would have my own business and be an entrepreneur. And I walked away, and everything else he said was true. And I walked away and I thought, it's all a lie. It cannot be. There's no way I would have my own business. I won't amount to anything like that. Like, I'll just work with someone else my whole life. I really had no goals or aspirations. And this is why I say, like, these breakdowns can be the most amazing thing for you, because they can give you this new direction. And the truth of it was that I just couldn't not find answers. And so what I did was I searched for a course after I was diagnosed, and tried to basically, the woman that changed my life, she was also in contact with a naturopath, which is what I do now. And so I was looking at courses that really were a blend of science and holistic health. So I really had that foundation of like biochemistry, neural pathways, cells in your body, how they function, but also a kind of holistic view and learning things like Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, so that I could really kind of attack it from both ends and find out the best solution. And I don't know, I was just guided. I was just completely guided. There was just no other option, in my opinion. And when I say guided, I don't even necessarily mean by God. Nowadays, I truly connect to that sentence. But at the time, it was just this like gut pull, which I now call intuition. But at the time, it was just that gut, like wrenching feeling of like, you have to do this. And yeah, I signed up and I started studying, and I noticed that I was doing all these things for my physical body with nutrition, but I was still finding myself depressed and miserable.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm giving you all the vegetables, like, body. What is happening? Why are you not healing? And I was definitely noticing effects, but I just still felt like there was something missing. And so that's how I started to look at spirituality and emotions and trauma, and how what happened in my life shaped me. And I realized that in order to truly heal and transform your life, in your health, in your business, in every area, in your relationships, with others and yourself, it wasn't just physical health, but it was also mental, spiritual, and emotional. And I noticed that the blend of all four of those things would just shift anyone I touched or gave that medicine to. And so I created the Arabella Solution, which is my business now, which is the solution to healing chronic illness and disease, or just the solution to becoming the optimal best version of yourself. And yeah, I work one-to-one with clients now and do workshops and webinars. And it's truly just amazing to see what worked for me work for so many others as well.
This is incredible. It sounds like the Arabella solution is multifaceted. State again, what are the main components and elements that you approach when helping somebody in this healing process?
Yeah. So first of all, it's nutrition. First and foremost, looking at the different systems in your body and finding what's missing. If you imagine your personal body is like a little town or like a little village, right? And in that village, you need things to run. Like, let's say you're kind of taking the car kind of traffic and the flow. You need it to flow. You need everything to do its job, to work effectively. Now, if you have a roadblock somewhere that's just dumped, from the sky in the middle of the street, then suddenly things start to back up. And then suddenly that area affects the rest of the town. Now, my job is to go in and basically find the blocks, right? Find the things that are missing, find the things there's too much of, and just kind of take that blockage out, pop that in, make it all flow better. And that is really step one, because you can have all the talking therapy in the world, but this is a perfect example with depression. You can talk for hours and hours, but to make your neurotransmitters, which are known as your happy hormones, you need amino acids. Amino acids come from protein. So maybe you turn vegan because you're trying to be healthy or something, and you learned that was quite a good thing to do. And so you went vegan and you were just lacking in protein. And so you couldn't build the neurotransmitters to make the happy hormones. Mm-hmm. So that has to come first. Really making sure that you're putting this in, you're taking that out, and making sure that all the systems are working in harmony with each other.
So good. So you start with the physiology, and then from there you move to...
That's when I go into the intuitive healing. So that can be spiritual, emotional. It's different for everyone. Some people just really need to love themselves more and need to change their relationship with themselves. Some people have got that bit and they need to work on their trauma, or some people have kind of addressed their trauma and they need to work on visioning their future selves and what that looks like. And so some of the sessions are kind of giggling and talking about your higher self, and they're sassy. And then some of the sessions are deep in meditation and tears. And I just support people through that process because, we've all followed a diet plan. I doubt there's anyone listening that hasn't at some point. Now, we know they don't last long. And most people know this because of Instagram these days, but that could just be a projection of my own algorithm and circle. I'm sure there are so many people that are still following a diet and thinking it's going to change and shift things. And maybe it does for a small amount of time. But the best ingredient for healing and changing your life and being the best entrepreneur and person you can be is love and support, because without the love and support, you don't feel like the best version of yourself. And we all know that our business thrives when we thrive. And it's everything. It changes your relationships with literally everything in your life. If you can wake up, look in the mirror and love what you see and feel good and energetic and abundant and excited about life for the most part, and also love yourself through the moments where it feels more difficult, your life gets to be easy and abundant and joyful and exciting and pleasurable. Right? But when you're just like getting through the day drinking coffee, it's not it. We all know that. Don't get me wrong. I still have a couple of days like that, but if they were at 100%, now they're at 2%.
Yeah. Love this. Something that you've mentioned a couple times, and I could even hear it in your stories early on, is intuition. How do you explain intuition to somebody who is like super logical, strategic, planner? How do you kind of interact or approach your intuition, and how do you share it with people who maybe have not lived an intuitive life? How do you begin to help somebody even begin to listen to their own intuition?
Love that question. That's such a good question. I love that, especially for those that are more in their masculine energy, whoever that is. Even so many women entrepreneurs are in their masculine energy. I actually have Trust Your Intuition tattooed on my arm. And again, I didn't know what it was years ago, but intuition is first.
But you were following it, like you were listening to it, you were following it, and it did not lead you astray.
My intuition has never done me wrong, ever. Even if it's meant walking away from something that was really difficult and, you know, walking away from relationships that broke my heart, even though in that moment it was so tough, it was always the right thing to do. Now, I describe intuition as like this wise old sage. Like I want you to imagine as a lady sat on a mountaintop, right? And I kind of imagine her as like this really wise old lady, and she's very calm, and like the wind's blowing in her hair, and she's very still, right? And she just says this like really wise thing, but it's very quiet, right? Now, what can happen when you first hear an intuitive nudge? The reason we don't hear them first and foremost is disconnection. If you're in a state of disconnection with your body, you will not hear your intuition, right? No matter how hard you try or how much you want to. So if you are rolling through life, drinking coffee on the go, go, go all the time, and you're basically in a state of disconnection with your body, how do you expect to listen to its whispers? Right? Now, in contrast, I explain fear and doubt and all these other things as like a child having a tantrum, right? And so the reason a lot of people can't hear their intuition there, and also you can call it your gut feeling, like just this weird inner knowing. It's like, you know, when people say, I knew that was going to happen, right? Or like there was a saying a couple of years ago, my friends used to say, disappointed but not surprised. It was usually in relation to dating, but it's like you're disappointed but not surprised because you already knew, right? You already knew the answer. Now what happens is the intuition comes and it's this whisper. It's very quiet and calm. But the second it comes, then you have fear, doubt, this like child having a tantrum, right? Like, no, what if, but no, I can't because of this. And so you get confused because there's all these voices. But the intuition is very quiet. It's that wise old sage. It's just this knowing. She doesn't need to scream about it or shout about it because she just knows, right? And so when I kind of think about like that, the way that you can tap into your intuition is by calming all of the noise, right? And we calm the noise generally for the most part by sitting still. The best way is meditating, but I know for some people that can be really difficult at the start. Going for a walk in nature, really anything that just calms your nervous system down. Something to note as well on meditation, if you struggle with it, is that meditation is not about having no thoughts or sitting in silence. Meditation is really just about being the observer of your thoughts, focusing on your breath and just observing what comes up. You do that a few days in a row for 10 minutes, you will really hear those calm voices come up and those loud voices quieten.
This is so good. I love this. I feel like, especially in the entrepreneurial world where you have high performers, people who are exceptionally smart and bright and gifted, that oftentimes we use this one faculty that we have, our brain, right? Our thoughts. And for whatever reason, that's valid. And listening to our body, for whatever reason, is kooky. And I feel like there's so much wisdom in there that we're not listening to, that we're not being in tune with. And it's there to help us, to guide us, to teach us incredible things, and to ultimately help us create the life that we want. And if we can align with it and listen to it and be still, like you were talking about, such an incredible message. And I'm just going to invite everybody who's listening, like, go test out what Arabella is teaching you. Yeah. And you can't decide with your logical mind whether or not that's going to work for you. You have to literally go try it on or test drive it like you would at a car dealership. Go test drive it, try it out. And I really feel like our world needs more of this message of listening, of slowing down. And I loved your visual of this wise woman who speaks in a softer voice, but it's not because she's timid. It's because she's not fighting that noise, right? She's not going to get in a wrestle with the chaos and the noise of the world. Like,
it's like there's like a storm around her, and
yes,
she's just stood there, very stable, grounded.
Yeah.
to just like, well, I know, and so I don't need to prove myself. You know, a lot of the time I actually have courage tattooed on my other arm. Oh, it's a little bit too high up, you can't see it, but I had courage tattooed on my other arm because I realized that anyone can, you know, within connection, they can listen to their intuition and trust it, but you need to have the courage to act on it, to take soul aligned action, right? And it's the same in business. The reason these things in our health are so amazing is because what you're learning when you're loving yourself through food, or when you're doing these things for your health, is you're learning how to love yourself, how to listen to yourself. Now, in business, if you listen to yourself, right? If you listen to your intuition, if you are connected and aligned when making decisions, your business will feel good. It will feel joyful, pleasurable. But when you're making these decisions from a place of disconnection, in a ill health, you know, like no sleep, coffee, just moving around, just like surviving and getting through the day, which I totally hear is a privilege to be able to take moments, you know, to yourself. And there are ways around this, you know, like if you can't have a moment to yourself, invite the people around you to do the exercise with you, whether that be your kids or your co-workers, right? Set goals. When you're truly connected and aligned with who you are, which you discover when you start to actually look after yourself, your business will be so different, right? Because the decisions you make are going to just be so aligned. And when you're aligned with your true self, your business is unique. When your business is unique, it is successful.
When you talk about connection and alignment, is that like a significant life event and then you're there and every day you're just in alignment now because of that event that happened? Or is alignment something that you're creating daily?
I wish it just happened one day and then it stayed. But no, it's a full-time job, you know.
What are you doing specifically in your life to create and sustain alignment in your life?
I notice when I feel out of alignment, and then I will do things to get myself back into alignment. So rather than falling straight back down to the floor, I feel a little tweak of being misaligned. And my number one priority, as soon as I possibly can, is to get back into alignment. Now, that looks different for everyone. So, and it also looks different for me, right? Like every day that's different. And
because there's different reasons why you're out of alignment.
Exactly. If you're out of alignment, something is off, whether that be with your physical health, whether that be with your emotional health, something needs tweaking somewhere. Now, if you can stop and think about what that is, then you can then get to the root cause of that imbalance, and then you can solve it. Now, I understand that's not the easiest thing to do always by yourself. You can do your best and you can journal, you know, and try and figure it out. And then you can take soul aligned action from there. But also having a coach really helps, because they draw out your weak spots. They draw out those things from you that you're struggling with. And that can be a coach in any area of your life you're wanting to work on in that moment. And that can change. So if health is just something that you feel you really are wanting to work on right now, get someone who you connect with to help you with your health. If business is something you want to work on right now because you feel good in your health, get a business coach. And you can also do this within your price range. You know, if you can't afford a one-to-one coach, listen to podcasts, you know, find a workshop. There really is something for everyone at every price bracket, even YouTube for free videos, you know. And also what I would say is, if you do have the privilege to be able to afford a coach, reach high, right? Go for the people that you feel like, I want that life a little bit. I want to be like you. Because what I've noticed from having one-to-one clients and also being a client myself to other coaches is that the more I invest, the more it feels like an edgy investment, the better I work, the harder I work at it, and the better the results are for my clients, right? Because it's like, I'm giving this everything.
Yeah, it's got to be significant.
Yeah.
Can you share either personal example or from one of your clients somebody who wasn't living this life of being in tune and aligning and listening to intuition, and then, having the courage, as you said, to make that change and that shift, and what the outcome or the results were on the other side of that?
Oh gosh, so many, so many. I would say my favorite transformation is probably my assistant now. She came to me and she was 25, and she was told that within a couple of years she'd be in a wheelchair because she had rheumatoid arthritis, which,
Wow.
for those that don't know, is an inflammatory condition where your body is basically attacking itself. Um, and she was just in a really bad way with her health, and she couldn't really get out of bed. She couldn't walk. She was in so much pain because her joints were so inflamed. And she was very spiritual, which is the cool thing about this story, because she'd had coaches and therapists, and she was doing very well in that area, but she was severely depressed. Because how can you be thriving and happy when your body is pulling you down every day? Right? Like, how? You can have an amazing therapist, but if your body is struggling every day, like it's like every day is a battle. Now, when my assistant had signed up to work with me, she was such an amazing client because she recognized the importance of my work. And before I even said my price, she was like, so yes, let's go. And she was just brought to me. Now, within 12 weeks, she pretty much completely healed her body. She is now in the gym.
12 weeks.
Yes, 12 weeks
Wow.
is pretty much the average. Normally, my clients see huge shifts within 2 weeks. But yeah, she went from being depressed, in pain all the time, to thriving in every sense of the word. And she is now my assistant because I just loved her so much. A couple of months later, I was, taking on positions for an assistant, and she was just there, available and ready. And yeah, she's just truly amazing. And there are just so many stories. I really couldn't pick my favorite because everyone's so different. But you really can see huge shifts within, even a few days. And I love when people come to me and they're scared to sign up because they're like, oh God, this feels edgy, this amount of money. Like so many people have told me there's nothing I can do about this. Why am I investing in this one person who has just suddenly said they can help? How can that be true when the whole world says that there's nothing I can do about it and that it's normal? And so, yeah, basically, people who feel like that, and then they come to me, within a week saying, holy wow, I cannot believe I feel this good in such a short period of time. It's magical every single time for me. It's like, I know it's going to happen, but every single time, I'm sure you'll get this as a coach. It's just like, oh, yes, I love doing this. And I'm just so proud of them. It takes a lot of courage to decide to change your life.
Yeah. When they come into your world, I'm sure there's a lot of things that you can see that need to change beyond just like their physical health, right? Mental, spiritual. Do you start approaching all areas from the start, or do you pick one and we start there and then we build? Like, I guess let me ask this, like, are you making big changes in that first couple of weeks, or are you taking steps and doing smaller changes?
Depends. I personally love to go all in and like, let's fucking go. Excuse my language, but yeah, I just like to go all in. But I always ask the client before and I assess where they're at. And we can start small or we can just go all in. It really, really depends on the client, but I definitely see the best results in the people that are just committed. They're just like, I'm not living this way anymore. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I can only imagine with such critical health concerns going on. Yeah, you would have to take everybody's specific case one at a time?
Generally people that come to me, and a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I'm just looking to tweak my health. I just feel like a little bit meh, and I want, optimal health. Because a lot of the doctors like results, they're like, oh yeah, I have normal results. And it's like, what? We don't want normal, we want optimal, right? Like, why would we shoot for normal when we can go for optimal? It doesn't mean we have to be perfect in every area, but why the hell not? Especially when it gets to be so easy and enjoyable. So my favorite times are those, where I have clients where they're like, and then we start going through the case taking form, and suddenly they're like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not very well. I think I've normalized that symptom. They're like, oh, it's just my IBS. Oh, my PMS. Oh, I have insomnia. And I'm like, but why? There's a reason for it, and we can solve that.
Yeah. I love that perspective, because I agree. I think too often in the traditional health system, the standard is very low. There's if you're alive and walking, then you're fine, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you acknowledge that you have a higher standard and that you help your customers, your clients achieve that higher standard. That's really incredible. Arabella, this has been an incredible conversation. I have a couple rapid fire questions for you here at the end. What is something that you do consistently every day?
Oh gosh, every day. I would be lying if I said I did my routine every day, or something I do every single damn day, no matter what day of the year it was, is my best. And that looks different on every single day. And that's all you can really ask for from yourself. And sometimes my best is doing that 20-step morning routine and completing that to-do list. And sometimes my best is canceling a meeting and getting back into bed because I need to rest. And I know that. And I think it's really important to listen to yourself and just do your best every day. Do not expect perfect from yourself all the time. Those people you see who are just crazy entrepreneurs being so successful in life, they do have time to themselves. They do. And they delegate tasks, and they have bad days. Like, don't expect perfection from yourself every day, but just do your best every day.
I love it. So good. So good. Is there a book that you keep on your nightstand or you frequently revisit?
The hell yes, there is. I actually have my whole bookshelf here. My favorite book, I don't know if I could pick between the two of them because I just love them both.
You can tell us both.
My favorite it's actually on my nightstand, so it's not here, is The Untethered Soul. That is a truly amazing book about how it's a very empowering book because it tells you how you can take your trauma and your pain and be free from it. Now, a lot of books talk about how, like Carl Jung, it's like your trauma happened and then you're just screwed up. So sorry. And that's really demotivating, like The Untethered Soul is this really beautiful book. It's quite spiritual, but anyone can read it and it will really open up your mind to how you can heal. And it talks about how your heart contracts in moments where you see your ex or someone budges past you on the street and that like heart closing moment. It talks about how to reopen your heart in those moments so you can live a heart open life. It's really beautiful, and it has like a small amount of chapters and they're quite small, so you can go back to them and read whenever, which I love. The second book is called The Courage to Be Disliked. So entrepreneurs, listen up. It is an amazing book. It was part of the reason I got courage tattooed on me as well. And the cover is a Buddhist symbol called an Enzo, which is actually my brand logo. It's truly an on-brand book for me. And having the courage to be disliked is something that I feel every single person needs. It is a book that's written in a format that is so easy to read. It's a conversation between a professor and a student. And so every time the professor kind of speaks, hypothetically, the student then says, well, what about this? And well, what about that? And so every time your mind wanders to one of those questions, it gets answered. And it's based on a philosophy from a guy called Alfred Adler, who, again, differently from Carl Jung, he talks about how your mind has the power to change your physical body and your life, which we absolutely love.
So good. I'm
Mhm.
excited. I want to read both of those. That
The
sounds good.
Courage to Be Disliked is an incredible one to start with.
I've never heard of that one.
It's so good. It's written by two people. I think I honestly can't pronounce their names. So if you just type it in and you see some names that are a little bit complex, then you know you've got the right one.
Okay, fantastic. Has there been some advice that you've been given in your life that you carry with you? Some good advice?
So much good advice, but what is the one that is coming through? A piece of advice. I would love to give one that applies to everyone. I would probably say that, you know what, I think it has to be trust your intuition and have the courage to follow through on it. It truly is the most amazing piece of advice because it applies to every single area of your life.
So good. What an incredible message to wrap this whole conversation up. I'm honored to know you, honored to have had this conversation, really excited. I know that this conversation, it might be a little bit different for some of the people who are listening, and I just would invite everybody to listen to what she is teaching you and inviting you to be curious about, and to listen to that intuition and have the courage to take action on it. What an incredible story, message, an incredible woman. Is there any advice that you would give somebody who is not feeling self-connected, as you were describing? What's one thing that they could do today to begin to build and create that connection?
I love that. I would start less with the connection and start more with looking at what's disconnecting you.
Ooh.
Yeah, because really when you haven't got disconnecting things in your life, you're automatically connected. So rather than just trying to add more things to your already busy life, just try and take away a few things that are disconnecting you. And you can even journal on it and just put at the top of the page, what is disconnecting me from my true self? And then listen to your intuition, because I guarantee you, your body has some information for you on that. And it's not to say that your intuition won't speak to you when you are busy and disconnected. Trust me, it will. But I think there's a saying in the Bible or something. So forgive my wording on it. I never actually read the Bible, but it was something along the lines of, God will first whisper in your ear, and if you don't listen, he'll tap you on the shoulder, and if you still don't listen, he'll beat you off the cliff. And you will potentially in your life, if you're in a state of disconnection, be getting booted off the cliff, right? And so you'll be having these moments in your life where you just feel like you're breaking down quite consistently and being knocked on the floor. Now, an example of this would be taking a job that you intuitively felt like a no to, like it just didn't feel like a soul lit up yes. Another example would be staying in a relationship or getting into a relationship that you didn't feel like was the right one for you. I know there were signs at the start of the job or the relationship that told you that it wasn't right for you, right? And that was the little whispers, but you didn't listen and you got tapped and some bad things happened. And then you still didn't listen and you got booted off a cliff, and it was like, okay, I have no choice but to make a different decision now. So don't worry so much about being in a state of connection all the time and being perfect at it. Just start to look at your life and ways you're disconnecting, you know, with your diet, with food, with, you know, your phones, technology. Something that would be an amazing exercise would actually be putting your phone down, putting some music on and cooking, right? And just cooking and eating without technology, without the TV. A lot of people are numbing with TV. Nothing wrong with doing this occasionally, but if you're doing these things every day, that's an issue, right? And these issues look different for everyone. And I don't need to make a list of what they are, because if you're listening to this, I guarantee you can actually list off 3 things that you could do to change this and get yourself feeling more connected to your higher self.
Stop trying to connect and go eliminate the things that are causing you to disconnect.
Yes.
So
Love
good. So good. This has been an absolutely incredible conversation. I really appreciate you sharing all of this with us. Where the people who are listening and dying to connect with you, where can they best go and be a part of your world?
So my Instagram is the Arabella Solution. Website is also the Arabella Solution. That's the branding, and you can find me there. Instagram is my main place to come find me. Shoot me a DM if you learned something from this and you want to have a chat about it. I'm so available for that. But yeah, that's my main place right now to find me.
Fantastic. Arabella, this has been absolutely incredible. And this is what's working now.